Hey there, my name is Cerise Fairfax. Welcome to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, you know I love you. And if you are here for the first time, let me just give you a quick rundown. My name is Cerise. I live in the Dominican Republic. I help people to relocate, and I also tell little stories of what I hear here on the island from visitors, locals, and people around the world. So, this story today comes to me from a gentleman by the name of Tim, and this happened a year ago during the NFL. So, what happened was Tim, he contacted me about a month after the NFL last year. So, this story, it really concerns two brothers, Tim and Tom. So, Tim, he lives in California. And he's the type of person that he married young, and right now he's 45. He stayed with the same woman all his life. He's not really the type of man that will go indulge in a restaurant all by himself, or even if it's McDonald's. He'd rather go through a drive-through and go somewhere and sit and go on his cell phone and eat. He's more of a loner. He's not the type of person that needs to go on vacations or live a lavish lifestyle. His brother, Tom, on the other hand, is somebody who loved to save his money and travel the world. When he was a teenager, he came here to the Dominican Republic with a bunch of guy friends. He fell in love with the Dominican Republic and continued to come here all the time on his own. Not only would he travel here to the Dominican Republic, but all around the world. Some of his favorite places were Peru, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and of course, the Dominican Republic. So it was 11 months ago when his brother actually found out that he died here on the island. You see, Tom, being the person who is a loner as well, like Tim, is somebody who is an adventurer. So he would go and travel the world alone. When he came here to the Dominican Republic a year ago for the NFL playoffs, he came to party and have a great time. Now, he was the kind of guy that would drink and drive. Unlike his brother, he wasn't married, and he was very reckless when it came to just having fun in life. He did a lot of drinking and driving back in America. As a matter of fact, not to call anyone down in their death, so please don't take it like that. But Tim did want me to make this an important part of the story. And his brother did get caught many times before drinking and driving in America and did lose his license more than once. So when he came here to the Dominican Republic, you see, you don't really get checked for drinking and driving all the time. It usually happens around Christmas time and Easter time, what is called Semana Santa, where it's the week of the saints. And then a lot of people will get pulled over for drinking because there's a higher risk of drinking and driving at that time. But more or less, it's not really something that people get pulled over for here in the Dominican Republic. Keep that as an important part of the story, and let's put a pin in that and put it aside. So now Tim, he wasn't very worried about his brother. And after about a week of not hearing from Tom, it didn't bother him. It didn't faze him, because once Tom got to the Dominican Republic, he rarely posted anything on Facebook or any social media. He wasn't that type of guy. He would just go radio silence. So Tim, again, didn't worry about his brother too much. Now, after 2 weeks, he decided to reach out to his brother to say, hey, how was the football game and stuff of that nature, because Tim is not really a sports guy. Tom is. Tom did not answer. And so he messaged him again. Now, on WhatsApp, if you're not familiar with the telephone application, the cell phone application, tablet, it's what you can do is you download it and you can make calls for free. You can leave voice notes. You can do video calls and stuff of that nature. Well, Tim left a voice note, and there was only one check mark. That was 2 weeks in. And so he thought, you know what, my brother is somewhere out in the mountains. He's probably checking out all the chicas and he is not paying attention to anything, probably doesn't even have service, enjoying his time. 3 weeks pass. So now he gets a little concerned and he starts to think that maybe he needs to contact the embassy or maybe he needs to, put it on Facebook. He didn't know what to do. The fourth week came and he contacted the embassy. When he contacted the embassy, they checked around for him and they found that, yes, in fact, his brother was found deceased. Now, his brother's ID was found on the road beside the crashed motorcycle. 2 people had passed away during that accident, Tom and a young woman. Neither one of them survived. So Tim didn't really understand what happened around everything because language was a barrier. And he was trying to get as much information as he could, but he couldn't because the person that was handling the case, the officers, they didn't speak any English at all. So Tim didn't know what to do. And he went on his brother's Facebook and he looked at his brother's photos from his past trips to the Dominican Republic and looked at some of the comments from some of the men that would call him hermano, which means brother. And his brother, Tom, did speak Spanish very well. So Tim didn't speak any Spanish, but he knew what hermano meant. Hermano. He knew what this word meant. So he clicked on some of those names and he left messages for some of those guys. And those Dominican guys, they were like, yes, you're the family of Tom. Please come down. We can help you out and help you translate. Now, these guys didn't even know about the accident because these guys were situated more in Punta Cana. The accident itself happened in the hills here on the north coast. 2 different coasts. So now Tim, he comes down here, he gets to Punta Cana, they rent a car, and Tim was terrified. Remember, he's not the type of guy that is an adventurer like Tom. He speaks absolutely no Spanish, and he's coming to a country where his brother was found dead, and he doesn't know if he believes if it was a motor accident or not. And people were throwing him different stories, negativity, saying, you got to get there. You'd never know what happened. Maybe this happened, that happened. They were all acting like the old phrase, backyard mechanics or backseat mechanics. Backyard mechanics are great. Backseat drivers. That's how they were acting. They were just trying to help out, but they were instilling more fear into Tim. So here he is. He's in the car that he rented. He didn't know what he was doing. He wasn't driving. He was afraid to. And the guys didn't really speak much English, but they tried. The Dominican men, they tried. There were 2 of them. And so they used translator. And he didn't have any service when he was on the road with them because they had to drive from Punta Cana here to the north coast, which was taking them about over 6 hours. So now here he is in a car this many hours, doesn't speak any Spanish, trying hard to figure out what's happening. And so he gave all the phone numbers that he got from the embassy and from the police officers that he was dealing with. He gave those to the guy that was sitting in the back seat, one of the other friends. We'll just call them 1 and 2. Friend 1 was driving, friend 2 was in the back seat. So as friend 1 was driving, friend 2 was in the back seat, contacting all these officers and people and speaking to them in Spanish, trying to find out everything. They finally get to the police station. When they get to the police station, Tim is like, he's in culture shock because you have to remember, he has never been here to the Dominican Republic. And when people usually do come for their first time, for the most part, 99.99% of people are coming here for vacation. So they will stay in a resort. They will stay somewhere where it's tourist friendly. But when Tim got off the plane, He rented a car right away. These guys met him at the airport, and he was immediately getting in the car and driving across the country. There were no resorts, nothing of that nature. He was smack into the culture. So now, when they get to the North Coast, they go to the police station. And when they get to the police station says, "Look, there's not much more information we can give you. The guy he was drunk, and he had the young girl on the back of the moto, and they crashed. It was nighttime." Tim wasn't satisfied with that. He said, "What was his alcohol level?" And the police officer said, "We weren't able to check his alcohol level." Tim said, "Well, where is the body now?" And they said, "We had to cremate it because nobody was coming for him. We had his identification, but the body was literally sinking because it was on the side of the road for a couple of days. No one had really seen it. They were down in a ditch." The officer also told Tim that they kept the body around as long as they could, but due to the heat in the Dominican Republic, it's almost like the body is going to bust because it swells out and it can get quite messy. So Tim understood that. And they said the fact that they had the identification with the bike on the side of the road, they assumed that was the gentleman that had the accident. But they said pretty much the man was unidentifiable. And Tim was still using his, detective skills. He was trying to get to the bottom of it, and he felt like that was just not a good enough answer. So he said, "Where was the scene of the accident?" The police officers took them out there. And then Tim said, "Well, who was this girl that he was with?" And they said, "Well, the girl he was with was a local girl, and she just lives up the street, up the mountains a little bit, in the countryside." Tim asked to be taken there. And that's when they started to unravel a lot of the stuff that Tim needed to know about that night that his brother's life was taken. He went and he entered the home, and it was a very humble home up in the mountains. Here in the Dominican Republic, the homes are mainly made of cement, and then you will have maybe a couple of rooms, but also cement floor, and especially out in the countryside. Most of them don't have glass windows. They'll have bars on the window or shutters on the window made out of metal. And so it's a very humble place. And when Tim entered that humble home, he was very surprised and he looked around. Now, these people, they knew Tom very well. They actually had a photo of Tom posted up on their wall, kind of stuck up there. And then he asked the man, this woman's father, "Do you know my brother?" The man, of course, didn't speak any English at all. And so they translated. And the old man said, "Yes, he was dating my daughter. They were in love. He would come and see her all the time. They've been seeing each other for many years. He came for the NFL weekend, and he was coming to pick her up for the game. And, they were drinking a lot." And so, of course, Tim said, "Tell me what they were drinking." Now, Tim, knowing his brother and having the drinking problem and driving while drinking and not really using judgment, wasn't looking at this as a far cry from the truth. But he still was trying to analyze because he knows his brother will not drink any beer. His brother will only drink rum or vodka, nothing else. And so the old man, he said, "Well, rum, your brother doesn't drink beer." And then right away, Tim started to cry, and he knew that this old man had no reason to lie. He knew that this old man loved Tom. So Tim looked at the old man and said, "I'm sorry about your daughter." Because then he all of a sudden felt a gush and wash over him like of guilt because he knew that that young girl was in his brother's hands and his brother was being reckless, and it was nighttime and it was up in the mountain area and there's no lighting up there, and they went off the hill into a ditch. And so obviously the father didn't go out looking for the daughter because the father thought the daughter was safe with Tom somewhere watching the NFL. That didn't happen at all. Tim ended up staying the night with the father because the father, he invited them. He said, please stay. Tim said that him and this guy, all they did was just sit up and talk all night. And the guy talked about his daughter, and he talked about Tom, like back and forth. And Tim used one of the guy's cell phones. And they talked back and forth like that through Google and translating it. And they had a really nice night. Tim, he had a lot of drinks as well with this old man. And it was a great experience for him. Now, this was 11 months ago. Now, Tim did contact me before he came here. And he said to me, listen, and he told me about his brother, and he said that he's been watching my channel, and it is in the relative area. I live on the North Coast as well. And he said that if he needs to call me for any emergency reasons, is that all right? And I told him yes. So it was when he arrived and he did all that already that he contacted me. He didn't have to contact me before that. And he didn't have the feeling like he needed to. He felt very safe. He felt very well taken care of, respected. And he felt like this was his second home. Now, him and I did sit down, and he came here for 2 weeks when he first came here 11 months ago. And we discussed everything that he was going through, and we stayed in touch throughout the 11 months. I didn't put his story up because it wasn't my story to tell. But now that it's a 1-year anniversary, he has requested that I make the story, and also on Super Bowl Sunday, like today, and to let people know, please be careful out there. Don't drink and drive, and make sure that you don't get into a car or on a moto with someone else that you know is intoxicated. Take care of your life and take care of others. Also, with that being said, hey, may the best team win, and happy NFL Day to everyone. Another thing I do want to say too is just to add, Tim, he comes often now. He stays in contact with the father of the woman that died on the bike with Tom, and he sends them little barrels of gifts and food, like, or he'll send money for food, or he'll get his 2 buddies that are now his buddies that were his brother's buddies before, those guys that helped him navigate around. He helps them out as well, and he'll get them, like, he'll send a barrel down and they'll get the barrel together and they'll take out their portion, and then they will send the rest of the portion here to the North Coast through Caribbean Tours, which is a bus service. So everyone gets everything, and everything is great. And not only that, Tom's in town today, and he wants to tell me to tell you guys that when you are here, always treat the locals good, because the locals will return that favor times 10. Alrighty, guys, you have yourself a wonderful Sunday. Huge hugs and a lot of peace to Tom, and also to you guys. Be careful out there. Treat yourself good today. Alrighty, if you haven't already and you like my channel and you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing. It's free. And not only that, when you do and you hit that like button, the notification bell as well, you'll be notified when I upload information on travel here, tourism in the Dominican Republic, real estate, relocation, and story time. Take care. Dominican Republic. Many people are coming here because it's a place that people want to relocate. People are coming from all around the world to move here and apply for residency. They certainly enjoy the economical and easy living lifestyle. The Dominican Republic has many coasts for you to enjoy, friendly people to embrace you. If you're looking for a change, give us a shout today for more information on relocation.